what I need is some bit of pictures there, maps and skull pictures. Other than that, content is fine. Did you get any mails yesterday, mail or some information added in the Dropbox? Yesterday you didn't check? कल तो वैसे आपका सेलिब्रेशन डे था तो शायद देखा भी नहीं हो. Ember sources sheet also was sent to you. Somebody was asking about what to do with the copper age, copper bronze age. Regarding copper age, I have added 2 documents there. One is IVC salient features, individual sites we have given, and there was one other document about anthropological works in IVC. So these are the 2 documents that I have added, but other than this, the basic aspects of copper bronze age you should be studying from any history book for that matter. Regarding Iron Age, people have asked. Iron Age small write-up I will send to you. You can stick to that other than what you have done in the class. The question asked by the student was, you haven't dictated, what should I do? That's why I have. So if there is no dictation, first and foremost thing should be your class note. And if at all it is archaeology, we generally ask you to refer to General Anthropology Hasnain. If you don't have that patience to go through Nadim Hasnain's General Anthropology, I will send you that brief write-up which you can do back home. This was one of the books that I was talking about, the collected essays by M.N. Srinivas. Collected essays by M.N. Srinivas. This is only to, क्या कहते हैं उसको? I'm not asking you to buy this book, but I wanted to mention to you about this article. Autobiographical essays are there. One of them is, all is not lost if your plans go awry. All is not lost if your plans go awry. This is here he talks about how he was trying to come out to life after facing so many problems out there. But then for some of the students who are expeditious enough to juggle through textbooks and all, you can pick up. These are all different essays that are there. About 42 essays are there. It's not necessary that all the essays you will be studying. Maybe by your taste and interest and mood you can pick up a few, but I'm not recommending you to purchase the book. That's up to you to decide. Not mandatory as such. We were supposed to write in this class 1 about dominant caste. The other was Sanskritization. Please make a note. The concept of dominant caste. Concept of dominant caste was proposed by M.N. Srinivas. Proposed by M.N. Srinivas in his work Dominant Caste in Rampura. Dominant Caste in Rampura, 1959, and explanation of the concept was extended in the essay social systems of Mysore village, 1959, published in the journal American Anthropologist. The concept has to be studied. Along with the concept of Sanskritization, under which it helps understand social change and mobility in the agrarian Indian society. He defined dominant caste, underline the word, social mobility and change. He defined dominant caste as the one which possesses all or a few of the following characteristics. 1. Ownership over a sizable amount of cultivable land. Secondly, place in the local caste hierarchy, write in the brackets, a reasonably high place. Thirdly, numerical strength. Number 4, political clout. 5, access to Western education. 6, jobs in the administration. The hierarchy of castes are both temporal and spatially variable. Changing the one in a dominant position. The idea of Srinivas initially was that, write in quotes, ritual aspects decide a dominant caste, unquote. Nevertheless, in the post-independent and welfare state era, he found secular aspects influencing ritual hierarchy and the general caste hierarchy. This is meant by the factors such as the non-Dvija communities and non-Brahmanical castes having access to Sanskritic scriptures and understanding of a religious ethos. For Srinivas, secular elements along with westernization opened doors for the low castes to move upward. Right in the next paragraph. According to Louis Dumont, LUIS, ritual significance has no role to play in deciding what a dominant caste is. Above all, it is the economics that decides dominance of any social strata, including in the caste stratification of India. Caste stratification of India. Right in the next paragraph. Srinivas categorized castes into high, medium, and low castes based on the general ways of understanding across India. Castes such as Nambudris in Kerala, Chattopadhyayas in Bengal, Iyengars in Tamil Nadu, Saryapani in Awadh province can be called high caste. These are generally from the varnas of Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya. The middle castes, which are cultivating castes, can be seen variously, such as Jats, Bhumihars in northern India, Vellala and Reddy in southern India. Large numbers of scheduled castes, such as Chamars of UP, Mala in South India, Adi Dravida in Tamil Nadu, Mugh in Gujarat, etc., were listed as low castes. Right in the next paragraph. Extending the discussions of Sanskritization. Initially, Srinivas proposed that ritually purer castes alone can form models of Sanskritization, hence a dominant caste. But later he found that occasionally tribes such as Rajgons and low castes, due to their numerical strength and composition of native population, along with access to welfare schemes, Western education, jobs in administration, and successful occupational shift successful occupational shift, successful occupational shift by tribes adopting the occupations of certain Dvija Varnas can become models of imitation in Sanskritization. Initially for Srinivas, nowhere in India, the untouchables were dominant. In post-1950s, exceptions were drawn from those castes and tribes that took the benefits of welfare state policies. In this context, Srinivas refers to the tendencies of desanskritization and tribalization. So I want you to give a break there. We will be talking about one concept called, look at your chapter 7, paper 2. There is one term there called pseudo-tribalism. Paper 2, chapter 7. Pseudo-tribalism. You found one? See, most of the topics we are dealing with have to do with something called social change. This is also a concept related to social change, because the terms such as desanskritization, tribalization have come. I wanted to talk about them, though we haven't still written about Sanskritization. What happens generally is, these are the four in the Varna model. I am considering this as an ideal situation. So the possibility is that whatever other low castes are there, these could be the untouchable communities. So other than these four, there are a hell lot of panchamas out there, and then there could be a good number of tribes there. These people are also trying to move up the ladder. Initially it is said that they cannot move up because they are outside the Varna model itself. And then in the Sanskritization, what is said is the relatively low castes and tribes, non-Dvija Varnas, non-Dvija castes, are trying to imitate the one who is at the top. Maybe this, maybe somebody else is trying to move up. This whole process we call Sanskritization. We still have to talk about models and all that stuff. But at one point of time, we find that the tribal who is outside this whole scheme might be somebody whom people are looking at, especially the ones in the lower rungs of the society. Meaning that if we take examples of populations that are inhabiting near the Todas and kinds of progressive tribes, we see that the low castes are trying to imitate the tribal way of life, and the process that is occurring there is tribalization. It is here from where I would want to talk about this word, pseudo-tribalism, meaning that it is a variant of tribalization. Tribalization can be from low caste to tribe, or from high caste to tribe, when this is happening, you try to recall what we were speaking of in great tradition and little tradition. We always said that from great to little there is more of exchange, from little to great not much. So this seems to be something that is very difficult to digest. Somebody moving from a high caste, because you are already there at a reasonable position in the caste hierarchy, you are trying to imitate the tribal way of life, or you want to get a recognition as a tribe. Here this is a meaningful thing. We were speaking of somebody like Valmiki Brahmins, the hunters who changed their occupation, changed their lifestyle, and started to claim that this is from the tribe to caste group. But when we are speaking about from caste to tribe, there is a possibility of the low caste alone to try to come out of it. So there could be two reasons. One is that they wanted to come out of the caste hierarchy, caste oppression, and hence the tribal identity could be a better one. Second thing could be that in that particular region, if at all a tribe is in a dominant position, for example Rajgond, if we are looking at a very popular example, so I am repeating that. So if Rajgond is considered as a model of imitation, not simply the upper caste, the low caste are also trying to be one, because that is in a competitive stage when compared to several other Kshatriya communities also. So here it looks to be that the low caste is trying to change the way of life. See, in the case of low caste, there is nothing like a very Sanskritic way of life. It is a lowly way of life. So there is no necessity of desanskritization for them. But what they are doing is tribalization. In the case of high caste to the tribe, it has to be desanskritization plus tribalization. If when I say desanskritization, the entire lifestyle has to be changed in tune with the tribal ways of life. So on the one hand, you are giving up what you were here and then trying to attain what is new for yourself. This is a combination of desanskritization and tribalization. If at all genuinely you want to have the tribal identity. But there could be other cases where we really do not want to do all this. What we want is recognition as a tribe alone. So there we see that there is no true tribalization process also. Neither you are giving up your own ways of life, nor you are adopting the tribal ways of life. It's only that merely for a recognition in the form of a certificate you are looking for. This is here we actually refer to pseudo-tribalism. You are not originally a tribe, but then you are posing to be one so that you can take the benefits of the government or whatsoever. So if a question such as pseudo-tribalism is asked in the exam, you are trying to examine tribalization processes. One, low caste to the tribe, where there is no need of desanskritization. What may be necessary is to accept the tribal supremacy, keeping aside the Brahmanical or other dominant caste supremacy. Tribe forms their model of imitation for the low caste. So it is mostly by tribalization. What exactly happens in tribalization, we will see at a later point of time. What are the things that you would be changing? And when it comes to high caste to the tribe, it is a rarity that happens, unless otherwise tribe is at really a position of supremacy leading to the jealousies, and consider high caste also considering that particular tribe as a model to imitate. Only then it happens. This can be in two ways. One is with desanskritization and tribalization. The second one is they are not either following desanskritization or tribalization. They are only doing it for the sake of getting a certificate. That is not a genuine cause of showing themselves as a tribe. That is pseudo-tribalism. Okay, come now, right. That we still have to come. That we still have to do it. The definitions of tribe I am still taking time. Let us finish off with the caste related things. Till then we use tribe as if we have understood. In fact, regarding caste, there is some element of understanding that these can be the defining features of caste. When it comes to tribe, we don't have much. At the end of the day, it is a feel that they are tribe, or it's a feel that we are a tribe. So we will be coming to those discussions later. Write down, sir. As the dominant caste is a local phenomena, its influence reduces as one moves from village to a regional and national level. Accordingly, Srinivas opined that caste in general and dominant caste in particular is an empirical reality of rural India. Its functional presence varies from village to village and across regions. At the national level, primarily due to the religion-based statistics, Hinduism becomes a dominant entity. Replacing caste. Right, in the next line. The studies by Andrew Betterley comparing different Lok Sabhas from independence to the NDA regime provided statistics of how caste can play a role based on the political party in rule, and the ideas of, right in quotes, secularism and pseudo-nationalism. During the NDA rule, he found a larger presence of Brahmanical representation. Brahmanical representation, which according to a few was only a coincidence, was only a coincidence. For Srinivas, dominant caste can be a phenomena irrespective of locally dominant religious group. Such an idea, found in his later writings, refers to the possibility of non-Hindu groups such as Syrian Christians in Kerala, Sikh communities in Punjab, and Parsis as possible dominant castes. Right aside here there. A role of dominant caste. Right in bullet points there. Dominant castes often act as reference models. Underline the word reference model. Reference models to the low caste groups. Continue in that. The lower castes imitate their behavior, ritual patterns, customs, etc. to attain a dominant caste status. Secondly, dominant castes of particular regions act as watchdogs of pluralistic culture. They play a role in setting norms and regulations for friction-free social life. Continue writing there. Each caste has its own caste panchayat to settle disputes among its members at the village level. Continue there. The high caste panchayats have a wider scope of settling disputes across the castes and pick up the unresolved disputes in the other caste councils voluntarily. Thirdly, dominant castes are the main power holders who establish contacts with the outside government officials, elected representatives, and political leaders. Fourthly, dominant castes, because of their position, have a possibility of exploiting the developmental processes for their own advantage, apart from they, having a possibility of accelerating the socio-economic developments in the region. Fifthly, traditionally, the primary functions of pronouncing judgments, protecting societal values, lied with the dominant castes. In the recent past, continue there, but in the recent past, factors like community development programs, land reforms, democratic elections, and modernization have an impact on the power of dominant castes. Continue there. For Srinivas, The higher position of dominant caste, the higher position of dominant caste still is a reality, still is a reality. Though in terms of volume and quality of power, there is a definite fall. There is a definite fall, giving way to economic and class elements, economic and class elements having a say, having a say. Srinivas disagrees. Srinivas disagrees with Louis Dumont that ritualism and classical caste status are the aspects of the past, are the aspects of the past. Right in the next paragraph. Some of the important field studies about dominant caste include, right in numbers, the numbers are points. Number 1, K.L. Sharma studied Brahmins. K.L. Sharma studied Brahmins in the villages near Kanpur and found that economically better castes have a chance of becoming dominant, According to him, numerical strength and high ritual status are occasionally overpowered by the economic status. Secondly, Weiser's study, W-I-S-E-R, Weiser's study, 1963, in the villages of UP, one village where he worked for a long time, Karimpur village, villages of UP, especially Karimpur village, he found that Brahmins of Karimpur are considered dominant due to the larger land holdings. Right, the third one. Study of Oscar Louis, O-S-C-A-R. Study of Oscar Louis, 1955. Write the book's name, Village India. In the book Village India, he mentions Jats of Western India Jats of Western India controlling other castes, including Brahmins, as they control, means of economic production. Right, the fourth one. Srinivas study in Rampura village of Mysore state. It is not necessary for a high caste to become a dominant caste. For him, though which caste functions as a dominant caste, is a regional element, across the villages, dominant castes perform multiple functions. In his study of Vokkaligas of Mysore state, he found that there is a master and client relation. Between the land owning and other castes. He introduced a description of agrarian social structure, right in the brackets, hierarchical arrangement of different castes based on access to land. He introduced a description of agrarian social structure. In the description of Vokkaligas as a dominant caste, his presentation resembles the Jajmani system, as was explained by D.N. Majumdar in his study of villages of Punjab. Right, in the next point. For Srinivas, there can be a categorization. There can be a categorization of regions based on Dvija caste dominance or low caste dominance. This idea is currently developed by Susan Anderson, SUSAN, Susan Anderson, where she compared occurrence of poverty and opportunities of economic prosperity for the low castes in such regions. According to her, the regions with Dvija caste dominance present both ritual and economic hurdles for the low castes. In the regions with low caste dominance, the lower castes can become dominant if political and welfare games can be properly played. Right, in the next paragraph. According to Srinivas, the role of any dominant caste can be observed across three fields. Number one, in the social field. Secondly, in the economic field. Thirdly, in the political field. For example, in the social field, the tolerance of a dominant caste can be understood by the way it can accommodate the low caste and middle caste in the ritual activities especially in the light of modern legal systems. Srinivas refers to the voting behavior and the patterns of political mobilization of castes in explaining the role of dominant caste in political fields. He agrees that with times changing, certain regions started to find the backward castes increasingly becoming dominant castes. In this context, he provided different models of Sanskritization, such as Vaishya model, Kshatriya model, Sudra model, and tribal models. He thus provided a concept to understand how different regions are trying to move up in the local social hierarchy, with caste as a deciding factor. Right aside head there. Critical appraisal. You have written a bit in the previous class. We are trying to slightly write an elaboration. Number 1, S.C. Dube's study in Shamirpet village. Critical appraisal. S.C. Dube's study in Shamirpet village. According to him, entire caste cannot be dominant. Political power generally remains concentrated with a few dominant individuals, right in the brackets, mentioned in his essay, dominant individuals, 1961. Secondly, according to Robin Fox, According to Robin Fox, it is only a few families or lineages that exert dominance, families or lineages that exert dominance, which is transmitted through traditions to the successive generations. Thirdly, for Roy Berman, a few dominant communities within the so-called dominant castes, exhibit dominance by the virtue of economic resources and control over social and political factors. Such communities may be lineages or clans or specific regional variants of a caste group. According to Harrison, write the next one. According to Harrison, write in the brackets, in his book, India and its most dangerous decades, and A.C. Nair, from his study of Maharashtra, opined that dominance can be specific to lineages and specific to regions and specific to time. This in a way explains with historical references the idea of M.N. Srinivas that is dominance of a caste is a spatial and temporal element. Write down a couple of the others there. Chauhan's study in Western India. Refers to a single family dominance that is dubbed as dominance of a caste. Dominance of a caste. Keep writing. The next one there. Alan Beals. You have written these names in the previous class. Alan Beals. B-E-A-L-S. Alan Beals. Study of Namhalli village. Alan Beals study Namhalli village of Mysore. Dominance in a village is generally decided by the power of the factions. The power of the factions that is exhibited by successful martial actions. Right, the next one. Ghanshyam Shah's study of 1985. Ghanshyam Shah's study of 1985 of the Kshatriya groups of Gujarat and Nadars of Tamil Nadu and Sardar Kurmi Kshatriyas of UP. Sardar Kurmi Kshatriyas of UP refers to the caste associations that exert their dominance through either sharing of fruits of development or addressing the needs of the disadvantaged in their caste or by resolving disputes across the caste groups. Right, in the next paragraph. All these criticisms considered that entire caste is never dominant, but it is only a segment, it is only the segments therein. For Srinivas, these criticisms provided additional field studies and models within the concept of dominant caste only to strengthen only to strengthen his explanations of social change in India. Take a break there. I was going rather slow so that you write at a reasonable price. Though in between I could hear some grunting noises. That is not it. There is a lot more to write. We'll move on to this one, Sanskritization. That is the work in which there has to be only one S there. Sorry. Religion and society among the Coorgs of South India. That is the work wherein M.N. Srinivas, malli M.N.S. రాయొద్దు. అంటే ఒకసారి చెప్పినప్పుడు what are the names of books of Srinivas we have come across so far? Apart from this one, Religion and Society among Coorgs of South India. Social change? Chepandi. You have written something, a dominant caste also? Go back and see what is the book or essay wherein he was presenting dominant caste in Rampura. Dominant caste in Rampura. And collected essays. And you have written one more essay that was published in American Anthropologist Journal, Social Systems of Mysore Village, Social Systems of Mysore Village. And a long time back when we were dealing with, when we were introducing Indian society to you, I have mentioned one book in the list there, Caste and Other Essays. That's a very popular one. If at all somebody is starting to study sociology or Indian anthropology, you start with Caste and Other Essays. There are two other books. One is called Social Change in India. The other is Social Change in Modern India. Interestingly, it is not simply the title. See, most of the title looks to be the same. It's only that India and Modern India. It may not be a big deal for a new reader in social anthropology. But then if you look at the content is so vastly different in the two books. Meaning that whatever he has written in Social Change in India, he is trying to revise, revisit and try to add more examples, criticisms for his own concepts. He was introducing many more concepts in the later books. For example, Social Change in India is the book where he largely talks about westernization. Social Change in Modern India is one book where he tries to compare modernization with westernization. So there is a difference in orientation there. So right now you remember these books. One is Religion and Society among Coorgs of South India. That is where he is giving us the concept of Sanskritization. We have already come across the other ones. I am once again saying it out for you. That is Social Systems of Mysore Village. You also have Dominant Caste of Rampura, and then Caste and Other Essays. Then you have there is one other interesting book. I mean, those of you who would want to read him after your main exam, you can do that. There's one title called Remembered Village. Remembered Village. Everything comes with the village title only. Remembered Village, Villages of India, Villages in India, India and its villages. You have several titles. The title Village is common in most of them. So Remembered Village is one book where he tries to introduce himself, how he had ended up in one of the villages there and where he was staying in the village. He narrates the whole thing with pictures also. Like he was drawing the entire anger of on me had actually shown on the banging of the door. But it's okay. So Srinivas was actually trying to show the pictures of the landlord's house. Generally, if it is a non-Brahmin or non-Kshatriya, he was not allowed into the backyard of the landlord there. But then because he had to study the village, from the anthropological perspective or whatever, he takes the permission of the landlord, and then landlord says that he has no spare accommodation for him. So if at all it is okay for him to stay on the backside veranda. Being a Brahmin, he did not actually hesitate because his task was much more important for him. And he describes how he was sharing the space with the livestock there. So it's like he was sleeping on the backyard veranda, and then just below the veranda, the entire livestock used to say. So the entire night he would say that the kind of smell that comes and the kind of setting wherein he sleeps and the kind of noises, the entire thing he describes, along with the house of the landlord, how many compartments are there where they store the granary and kinds of stuff. But that is a more, what I should say, story kind of a thing, where he explains his own experiences with social anthropology. We will be starting with these concepts. Make a note. Concept of Sanskritization. Concept of Sanskritization was proposed by Srinivas. To explain social change in India. To explain social change in India. Initially, the term Brahmanization was used. The term Brahmanization was used when he believed that Brahman was the highest in the caste hierarchy. Brahman was the highest in the caste hierarchy. His initial definition was, right in quotes, the tendency among the low castes to move higher in the caste hierarchy in a generation or two by adopting vegetarianism, teetotalism, and by Sanskritizing one's rituals and pantheon. Unquote. This definition was later referred to as Brahmanization. Right in the next paragraph. His later definition of Sanskritization was, right in quotes, a process by which a low Hindu caste or a tribe or other groups change their customs, rituals, ideology, and way of life in the direction of a high and frequently twice born castes. Continue in the definition there. Continue in the definition. Generally, such changes are followed by a claim to a higher position. In the caste hierarchy than that traditionally given to the low caste, unquote. That is the definition. Read both the definitions to yourself. He starts with Brahmanization, where the non-Brahmanical castes are trying to imitate teetotalism, vegetarianism, rituals, and a pantheon. Sanskritization. Said something? The second one was Sanskritization.
First one was Brahmanization.
Yes. So initially, whatever we have written about Brahmanization, that he gave as Sanskritization. But then he finds that Brahmin is not the only fellow that is dominant. There is a regional variation, etc., etc. So he says that the earlier one I call Brahmanization. This is a much more comprehensive definition. I call it Sanskritization. The low caste. Meaning of teetotalism? Practicing everything. Non-alcoholism. May not be for you. Non-alcoholism. Very difficult these days. So much of stress that you take in the exam, it becomes necessary very frequently. Low caste, tribe, or non-Dvijas are trying to imitate the ways of life, the ideologies, the lifestyle, and everything possible of whatever the upper caste or varna is. And by imitating that, they claim a higher status. This imitation has to happen for more than a generation. 2-3 generations you imitate, and then you start claiming the higher status. This is what is the definition of Sanskritization. So if you will have to write an answer about Sanskritization, you will have to first give these definitions. Whether you memorize or whether you try to write in your own words, because the definition itself goes into about 6 or 7 lines. So may not be memorizing, may not be possible. So you can actually give a meaning of it. He also writes in a very casual way, not a very systematic definition form. Is that okay, the definition? No. Keep writing. The concept was proposed to explain social change in India social change in India and caste mobility. And caste mobility. Based on regional variations, Srinivas proposed different models of Sanskritization. So we'll pick up one each there. Brahmanical model, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Tribal and Sudra model. We'll start with the first one, Brahmanical model. See, whenever you are suggesting a model, you are writing about it, you will have to see what they are imitating from that community. Brahmanical model. Vegetarianism, giving up widow remarriages, wearing of a sacred thread, upanayana, teetotalism, following the concepts of purity and pollution, preference for a son, etc., are emulated. Keep writing this. Srinivas from his study, especially in South India, referred to certain castes that were successful in Sanskritization. For example, Lingayats in Karnataka. Secondly, Smiths of South India. Who call themselves, write in quotes, Vishwakarma Brahmins, adopting Brahmanical rituals, and rejecting food from the Brahmins, challenged Brahmanical supremacy. Come to the next one. Kshatriya model. Generally, Upanayana, limited non-vegetarianism, occupational shift, giving up widow remarriage, dressing pattern, etc., were imitated. In Kshatriya model, Srinivas refers to two ways of claiming a Kshatriya status. Number one, a proper Kshatriyization, with changing ways of life, along with or otherwise of occupational shift. Secondly, mere occupational shift and gaining political power without the cultural elements of Kshatriyization, Rajgons can be given as the best successful example of the later variety. The other examples given by Srinivas include Gadarias of UP, traditionally shepherds, adopted Kshatriya lifestyle with occupational shift to being soldiers. Secondly, Noniyas of Gujarat, the salt miners, claimed Kshatriya status with the land grants and occupational shift. Mudaliars, Coorgs and Nadars of South India claimed Kshatriya status initially by economic and political power, succeeded by ritual imitation, right in the next line. Certain tribes acquired political power and with a minimum of formal Kshatriyization minimum of formal kshatriyization, claimed a higher status, such as the last three castes there. Potidars of Gujarat, Khatris of Punjab, Morwars of Tamil Nadu. Right, the next one. Vaishya model. Vaishya model. Vaishya model, it mostly resembles the Brahman model, in the aspect of rituals, and food habits. This model was mostly accessible to the low castes, as it incorporated all the artisans, traders, and farming groups. For example, Teli of Odisha, who were traditionally oil extractors. If you see ancient Indian book, they are referred to as Tilapisakas, Telis, oil extractors, mostly found in Odisha. Secondly, Veldaras, Veldara of southern India. Who are farmers and bamboo workers. They by emulating a similar occupation from the Vaishyas of the region, could claim a higher status. Initially, right in the next line, Srinivas believed that by emulating Dvijas, Shudras and tribes could get Sanskritized. A large number of tribes, including Bhils, Oraon, Oraon, Bhils, Oraon, Meena, Santhal, Munda, Gond, Tharu, Tharu, etc., imitated the local dominant castes. Srinivas later accommodated Sudra and tribal models. Sudra and tribal models. Sudra and tribal models. In the preface to the book, right in quotes, The Caste and Economic Frontiers, written by Bailey. He provided examples such as laundrymen of Western UP, emulating the neighboring tribesmen, facilitating the entry of the tribe into the mainstream. Right in the next paragraph. In tribal model, he refers to the tribes of Tamil Nadu and northeastern UP, where the low castes, in an attempt to change their economic status and lower social status, adopted purer occupations and imitated the tribal way of life. Bailey in his later writings described the southern Indian examples to be unique. For example, the Todas were imitated not in terms of tribal way of life, but in their cosmopolitan living and modern occupations. Right in the next paragraph. Srinivasa cited both ritual and secular practices that were emulated. For example, rituals such as vegetarianism, teetotalism, and marriage ceremonies institutions like practice of divorce, child marriages, secular aspects, such as the Kshatriya practices, in the northeastern India, Kshatriya practices, northeastern, you say UP rather than India, northeastern UP, such as betel chewing, and ornamentation, dress pattern, use of huqa, HUQUA, హుక్కా కాదు, హుక్కా అన్నట్టు లేదు, రాసుకోండి. Pronunciation is up to you. This. Write down. If you feel at home, you can write like this. Write down. Ideas and values based on Sanskrit texts, such as karma, moksha, punarjanma, etc., along with Sanskrit names and adoption of gotra. Right in the next paragraph. Results of Sanskritization. Alispod Rana, Bangaram. Alispod. Don't get tired. Results of Sanskritization. Simply by emulation, a lower caste or tribe cannot attain a higher social status occasionally. The result can be further oppression of the emulating caste. Further oppression of the emulating caste. Write in the brackets, according to Harold Gould. Write in the brackets, according to Harold Gould. Take some examples there. Vishwakarma Brahmins in the Mysore state. Experienced a further deteriorated position in the local caste hierarchy after trying Brahmanization. Secondly, in the Ramnad district of Tamil Nadu, Srinivas referred to the dominant caste of color imposing a list of prohibitions on the Harijans who tried to Sanskritize themselves using the benefits of welfare state. For Srinivas, right in the next line, for Srinivas, the opposition to Sanskritization from the dominant caste can result in violent suppression of the lower castes. It is here one can consider violence as the initial positive outcome of the social friction emerging from efforts of Sanskritization. Right in the next paragraph. Similar to several other concepts, Srinivas proposed Sanskritization. To explain social change, and mobility. The concept was criticized for its narrow scope and applicability only to the Hindu castes. It did not cover the non-Sanskritic segments of the country, such as the Sikh model of Punjab, Sufi model of UP. Continue there. But according to Srinivas, the concept of Sanskritization was proposed considering the major Indian population Nevertheless, it can be extended to the non-Hindu groups that may be functioning as locally dominant castes or communities. Right, the second point there. Initially for Srinivas, this is the other criticism, initially for Srinivas, untouchables cannot enter the mainstream hierarchy through Sanskritization, whereas the later studies of low-caste temple entry movements, Lingayat movement, etc., made Srinivas accommodate untouchables in the process of Sanskritization. Right, the third one. The concept was criticized for not accommodating influence of the Western rule and culture in molding Indian society and culture. In response to this, Srinivas proposed the concept of Westernization full stop. The two concepts are now considered to be working together complementing each other in bringing social change in India. Stop. That is Sanskritization. Tomorrow I'll start with Westernization. Kadu. Maybe the next couple of classes you will be writing good amounts. So Westernization I will do. So today I will be placing one document in the Dropbox that deals with the three concepts: Sanskritization, Westernization and modernization. Listen to me, concept of modernization you will be submitting as an assignment to me. I will only be giving you some kind of overview there, and I'll have to say this. I think after the second or third assignment, the assignments are actually not loaded in the website. So I found it only yesterday. I told the people there. So once that arrangement is there, you can upload your assignments there. because many people were sending the assignments to me directly. Then I found that there was something wrong, so they are doing that work. You can submit there. So today you will be studying the topic Sanskritization, Westernization and Modernization. You can write your planner. Please. You are into 36th lecture. We wrote about two concepts. One was dominant caste, the other one was Sanskritization. You are depending on your class plus AN02 plus the mail documents. I have already announced this assignment today, that is modernization. Modernization as a mechanism of social change. Modernization as a mechanism of social change. Let us see from the beginning what were the things that you were supposed to write. There was one called Comparative Approach in Anthropology, Tyler and Morgan, Criticism of Classical Evolutionism, and then Factors Associated with Arrival of Civilization, Relevance of Purusharthas, and today modernization. So missed out somewhere? One was Comparative Approach in Anthropology. Number 2 was Taylor and Morgan. Number 3 was Criticism of Classical Evolutionism. And number 4 was Factors Associated with Civilization. Master.
Which class will practice?
First class. Class number 26. Class number 26, Factors Associated with Civilization. Then class 32, Relevance of Purusharthas. Class 36, Modernization as a mechanism of social change. And one fine day we will write Relevance of Anthropology also. That is going to be one short note for you, for exam only, not for fun. Have a good time.